Lissa Kreisler here with Community Storytelling. Season 2, Linda Lester, Lester Square, thank you for all you do for us. This lovely artwork behind me, these beautiful, colorful canvases from Gatos Art House in Los Gatos. And my guest today, my new friend, is your police chief. You're a fairly new police chief, Pete Decena. And I met you right outside the Purple Onion. There you were. And I said, the police chief. Yeah. My goodness, do you walk the streets often? Maybe I didn't say that correctly.
Well, okay. Well, even cops got to eat. So actually, we were getting lunch, as I recall. So it was great. But that's the great thing about Los Gatos is that you just run into a lot of wonderful people in various parts of the town. So it was great. So it was wonderful seeing you.
Do you ever get a time where nobody stops you? Because you were surrounded. You were surrounded.
I think, if I'm in uniform, people, I think that's what I really have come to appreciate and love about this town is that, especially in uniform, because I'm very new here, is that people just, the town is very engaging. They always are going to say hello. The little kids come up. I have to keep a big supply of stickers in my pocket. But people are just really, really friendly. They love their police department with good reason. And they're fine coming up and saying hello and thank you for what you do. It's just, like I said, it's just very, very heartwarming.
You have some stickers you said with you today?
I do. Would you like
my grandson and my granddaughter will definitely need some before you leave.
I have stickers for you.
Make them junior police officers for the day. Yeah. So let's talk about you. When did you get hired as police chief here?
It was actually April this year. April 2nd was my first day. So
yeah.
It's been about 3 months.
And it's been a great 3 months?
It's been great. So again, it's a wonderful town. It's a great organization. The police department here, we have 39. We're authorized 39 sworn. So it sounds small, but it's actually considered a pretty good sized police department. And the level of commitment and police work is just on a national conversation level. It's a difficult profession to be in right now, but we have folks who are just very committed to this community. The level of customer service is, and I come from, I started my career at San Jose PD, so I come from a pretty busy department where, you're trying to take care of business, but here, the reports on everything, investigation, even the patrol officers will do preliminary investigation. They're actually doing some interviews now related to a series of smash and grab burglaries. They're working with detectives from outside other agencies. They've identified and arrested a couple, and they're actually interviewing them right now. So they the solve rate here for primarily property crimes, because thankfully that's mostly what we deal with, is very good because they care.
That's right. 39 officers for how many residents do we have?
That's about 39,000? Is it about 39? Yeah.
And do you feel at home? You've been here 3 months. Do you feel at home? Or is there something you're still got to achieve?
I do feel at home because everyone has been very welcoming, from the town manager, the town staff, the town council. Everyone's been very welcoming, so I do feel very much at home. I'm still trying to find my way. Like any organization, you have to try to kind of get the lay of the land, figure things out. We were very well served by our command staff. So Mike D'Antonio is a captain, but he was the interim chief before I took over. And a very solid, well-versed, I think about 20 years here in town. I was able to promote Clint Tata, who's the other captain, who oversees the Operations Bureau. So like I said, they're great, and I think we're developing into a great team. But again, I'm still in that phase where I'm still taking a look around. Getting to know all the folks. But like I said, I'm very happy with my decision to come here.
Can I ask you what the 4 stars mean on each side?
That typically, denotes a chief. That's just a rank badge. So the chiefs will have 4 stars. I think if you have a deputy chief, they may have 1 to 3 stars. And then captains will have bars, and lieutenants have single bars. But stars typically denote a chief.
And no hats?
We do have hats.
But you don't wear yours?
I don't, because I look sort of silly. I think for formal occasions we do have hats. So we have our dress uniform, which we call Class A. So on certain occasions like promotions or when we're swearing in someone, or unfortunately with funerals and stuff like that, we will wear our Class A's with our hats and our Ike jackets.
And I must say, I'm a hugger, so I did hug you because I've met you already, and you had a bulletproof vest on.
Yes,
I mean, aren't those things horrible to wear every day?
Yeah, that and the blue wool. So it's not
Yeah.
really summer wear, but
What are you going to do?
yeah, I've been a cop now for 37
Safety
years.
first.
Yeah, and I'm just sort of used to, even though I mostly sit in an office, I'm just used to wearing it. So I do, and we require our younger officers. I think if you after a certain time frame, we don't require it, but we require our younger, newer officers to do it. So like I said, I'm just kind of used to wearing one.
And how often do we hire new officers here? Do we
Well,
have any openings now?
We are actually backgrounding 2 officers that we hope to hire here very quickly. That'll put us up to our authorized strength.
All right.
But unfortunately, typically we have a couple officers that are injured, that are kind of on modified duty. We have an officer in the academy, so he'll graduate probably by December, and then he goes into the training program. So even when you hire an officer, it's typically at least a year, sometimes a little longer, before he's actually on his own, on her own, on the street by themselves.
So let's go back in time. Let's go back 30 years.
Oh my gosh.
So
Okay.
one, you're a fellow Spartan, San Jose State Spartan.
Yes, indeed.
So did you get your degree in criminal justice?
I did not. I got my degree in art.
In art?
Yes.
That makes
Yeah,
total sense.
It does, absolutely. Yeah. No,
I'm sure your parents were very proud when you said, I'm going to become a cop.
That was quite, I was raised by my mom, and she's always been very supportive, but I got a master's in sculpture, so that was quite the conversation when I came back and said I was going to become a cop. But as moms always do, she was supportive. I mean, very leery. I felt sorry for the sergeant that came to my house, the house to do the background.
Yeah.
Because he asked all the questions about the officers, and then he's, well, thank you very much, Mrs. Butler, is my mom's name. And he got up to go. She goes, hold on, sit down. I have some questions for you. So she turned around and interrogated him about the job and the safety and stuff. But
So do you have a room full of sculptures at home?
I do not. I still have some old stuff from many, many years ago. But I mean, even after I became a cop, I think I maintained a studio for a number of years until I got married and then had kids, and then
And
pretty
then
much
that
all
studio
went out.
became a toy room or another
Yeah,
bedroom.
I actually had to. I rented an
Yeah.
outside studio, but I eventually let it go. So someday when I retire, I'll go back and dabble in art.
And when do you retire? I think you could probably, if you were a San Jose police officer for how many years?
About 28 years.
Okay, don't you get to retire after 28 years?
I did retire from the city of San Jose, and then I went to San Jose State for 8 years.
And
So
became the chief there.
I was the chief there for about the last 8 years, and now here. So, it sort of depends. I think I still have a couple of ounces of fuel in the tank, and I'm still enjoying it. And I started late with children, so my youngest is a freshman in high school, so I've got a little ways to go yet. This will be my final stop. This will be the apex of my career, but it's been great. And I love art, and I like the idea of having a studio and making art. But once I became a cop, like I said, I didn't plan to. Certainly, I didn't plan to become a cop, let alone a chief. But it's been great, and I look back with no regrets. I would do it over again in a heartbeat, even as difficult as it is to be a police officer nowadays.
It is nowadays.
Yeah.
So very sad that it is that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up with you when you became a cop, I guess, because I've been around that long.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the kind of fears that we do now, and we didn't have, it's a whole nother show, I guess.
It
Yes.
is. It's difficult, and it goes sort of both ways. I mean, society's changed, but I think, as a profession, I think police, we were a little slow in learning about how to interact with our community and stuff. And some of that is kind of coming back to bite us a little bit, but I think we're also adapting. I think the new generation of leadership is very aware of what we have to do to partner with our communities, and I think in the long run it's going to be fine.
Was there ever a time your wife said, "Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Go back. Here's some clay. Go back. Go into the back room."
No, she was happy to have her regular paycheck, so.
Well, that too. That too.
Not a real solid financial foundation for artwork. It's
Right.
very difficult, but it's been difficult. That's the hard thing. That's what we recently promoted some. A captain and a sergeant and a corporal, and that's one of the, so you always invite the families for the promotions, and you always have to make a point of thanking the families, because the promotees work hard to study and promote and stuff, but if they don't have the support of their families,
No.
this can be very, very difficult.
Families live it 24/7 as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it is
So,
a group project, that's
Yeah.
for sure. So walking around Los Gatos, what comes to mind? You walk around and you pinch yourself sometimes and say, oh my goodness, this is the way to end a career. You still live in San Jose, I believe.
I do.
Was there ever a time when you were required to live in the city or the town that you work in?
You know, back when I was with the city of San Jose, I think you were required to live within, I think 60 miles as the crow flies from like the center, like First and Santa Clara. I think as real estate values grew and grew, I think I can't recall when it was, they finally let that go.
Right.
And now, I have officers that commute from Central Valley, and it's not uncommon. I mean, if you're living in Livermore or Pleasanton, you're living pretty close by. So,
That's true.
yeah.
Oh boy, I
is.
just can't imagine. You know, it's a long day. Are they 10-hour shifts?
No, our officers work 12-hour shifts, actually 12-hour and 20 minutes. So they get, and it's kind of a staffing thing in order to staff with the, because I think we have like 22 assigned to patrol. So in order to get the full coverage, 24/7, 365 days a year, we go with the 12 hours. And it's
So
not my favorite shift. It's a long
That's a long
very long
shift.
shift. I grew up with the 10-hour shift, and that's what I'm used to.
10 I can understand, you
Yeah,
know, after
yeah.
8, another 2
Right,
hours, but
right. 12 hours?
4 hours, yeah.
And then you have, and so it's an extra 20 minutes so they can overlap with the team that's coming on and share information. But you know, if you add on an hour or hour and a half commute on top of that, that's a very long day. So it's kind of
Yeah.
concerning, and it's
3
also,
days a week, right?
well, that's the good thing. It's either 3 days or 4 days. So if, 1 week it's 3 days, next it's 4, and then I think there's an OBAC day. It's kind of confusing to me, but and for them, that's the values that they do get. You know, quite a bit of time off. I tease firemen a lot, firefighters, because they work 10 days out of the month, but you know, my officers are working about 13, so I have a hard time
Yes, yes.
making fun of my
Yes,
fire.
especially if you want to stay here.
Yeah, exactly. No, we have a very good relationship with our fire folks.
So when you're walking around town, because I know you love to do that, what neighborhoods do you like to hang in? Do you cover all of Los Gatos? I mean, sometimes you've got to get in the car. You could walk around downtown, but
Correct. And I'm trying to get to know Los Gatos and Monte Sereno, because we also
Yes.
have jurisdiction in Monte Sereno. So I have ridden with the night police. So during the day, I like to walk around downtown because it's so nice, and you know, there's so many nice coffee places and nice places to eat. But I did ride, and I have to tell you, once it gets dark in Los Gatos and Monte Sereno, it is very hard to find your way around. So fortunately, the officers know where they're going, but I jumped in with the sergeant, I think a couple Saturdays ago, and after a while, I had no idea. I mean, he has like a map, but the computer screen is kind of facing him, so I'm trying to look over, trying to figure out where we're at, and again, it's just you know, lack of familiarity with the area. But at nighttime, it's like you're in a forest. I mean, it's a lot of trees, and it's dark, and you know, it's really nice, but tough to get around.
yeah. Oh boy, I mean, how many officers do we have who have been here for as long as you have, in terms of when you were in San Jose 28 years? Do we have any officers who've been here that long?
You know, I think, I'm trying to think, no, because there has been a turnover. I think our most senior officers, probably right around 20 years, right in the 20-year range. We have a number of, surprisingly, well, not surprising, we have probably about 60 to 70% of our officers are lateral officers. In other words, they came from other departments, which is great because they come over as senior officers. They know what they're getting into, so they know that they're not going to be in, you know, gunfights and car chases every single night, and you know, like, they're very aware of it. So a lot of our officers, even though they have maybe like 20 years or more of law enforcement experience, they're typically in 5 to 10-year range here at Los Gatos, Monte Sereno.
Yeah, not a lot of violent crime in this town, thank God.
We are very fortunate. There is not a lot of violent crime. Unfortunately, we do have, you know, our share of domestic violence, which is the violent
sad.
crime. It's mostly property crimes that occur here.
Any tips you want to pass along to us?
Well, so every day I get it's called the Daily Watch Report, where it lists all the crimes and all the stuff the officers have done through the night. And what I notice is we have a lot, and it's widespread across the Bay Area, is thefts from vehicles. And we have a lot of thefts from unlocked vehicles. So if there's one bit of advice I could put out to the community is you need to lock your cars. And then, you know, unfortunately, you live in a beautiful area, but it's very affluent. And unfortunately, the criminals realize it's affluent. So they just kind of go around, and it even occurs in the muni lots, you know, in downtown area. But if you leave your laptop case or your Fendi bag or your, you know, Coach purse in the back seat, and then forget to lock your door, the chances are that it's going to get taken. So I think the one thing I would say is, you know, lock your doors and then keep all your stuff out of view.
Do we have purse snatchings here?
Not in the time that I've been here. We've not had any purse snatchings.
That's good to know.
That is good to know.
Because I'm very lackadaisical about my purse.
Oh, really?
Very lackadaisical.
You do need to be aware of your surroundings, just like anywhere. But it's easy to see around here. I mean, it's a very, very nice town. We do have issues with a lot of mental health type issues, and that's kind of widespread. My officers deal on a pretty regular basis with that kind of stuff. But they're all, I think, probably about almost 90-something% of the both sworn and 100% of our dispatchers have been through what's known as crisis intervention training. So for dispatchers, it's a 16-hour course, and then for the officers, it's a 40-hour course. And it just teaches you how to deal with people in mental health crisis. Now, you're not a licensed clinician or anything like, but it just gives you the approach. And typically, that's just slowing things down. You know, just slow things down. If you try not to raise your voice, those kinds of things. Because, you know, cops, from what I learned, it's like you come on scene, you take control, and if you don't control things, I think we're realizing in a lot of situations, especially for people in mental health crisis, that's not the optimum approach.
You have any great stories to share in your 3 months here where you said to yourself, I'm not in San Jose anymore?
I'm trying to think, you know, there's just been a...
Even at San Jose State, you were there for 8 years. This is a whole different community.
It is very much so. And in the San Jose State was, you know, a lovely campus, as you know. It's really changed from when I was there.
Me too.
From when you were there. But it's still downtown. So they have, unfortunately, a lot of issues that sort of plague downtown San Jose come onto campus. But it is a world of difference. And it's just, like I said, I'm not used to people being so friendly. If I'm in uniform, now I'm starting to avoid going into coffee shops because I cannot buy a cup of coffee. And you don't want to be, you don't want to take gratuities, but on the other hand, you don't want to be rude to people. And people, they're just out of it's not like they're expecting something. They just like, they're supportive of law enforcement. They're supportive of the Los Gatos Monte Sereno Police Department. And I said, it's hard to buy a cup of coffee. So.
Well, tell me when you're out. I'll come and they can buy me the cup of coffee.
I'll do that. Okay, got your phone number. I'll call you. Lisa, come on down.
I will do that. Yeah. But that's so very cool.
It's very nice.
And that's the way community should be. We should all be friends, and you're our friend. You're looking after us, and they want to thank you. So you're not allowed to take the cup of coffee, or just feel funny about it?
They
offered you a donut, you take it.
No, nowadays it's quinoa bagels. They're not.
Okay, there you go.
I try to tip, tip large to make up for it. But I'll keep my set. People, they do it out of the goodness of their hearts. So
well,
nice.
Welcome to Los Gatos and Monte Sereno. So I know we're also very happy to have you, and we'll look for you walking around town.
Absolutely.
Chief Decena, and don't pull me over.
If I pull you over, you're probably in my office. So
okay, there you go. Yeah. There you go. Community storytelling at its finest from your police chief. Love it. If you've got a story to share, somebody who's got a great story, like the chief just shared with us, please go to KCAT.org and do the nomination process. I think it takes 3 minutes, 4 minutes tops. And thank you so much for being with us today and always at KCAT TV 15.